Hey there class, Mr. Posky here. Hope you're having a good day so far. So in this video, we're going through every single question from the 3.7 homework because it is a important topic and it is also a challenging topic. So let's go ahead and get right into it. So we had 11 through 21, I believe, was our problems here. So I have these all written out. So let's get right into it. So the trick to these kind of problems is to treat it like you would be normally solving other equations with numbers. The problem is that we're sometimes solving equations right now that have lots of variables and not a lot of numbers we're dealing with. But the moral of the story from the 3.7 lesson is don't panic and do the same steps you normally would to solve. Okay? So let's go ahead and get into it here. We have number 11. It says A equals 1/2 B times H. And we're solving for B. We want to get B by itself. That's what it means to solve. Okay. So what's happening between the 1/2 B and the H when they're all smushed together like that? Well, it's multiplication. So we need to get rid of the 1/2 and get rid of the H to get B by itself. So there's a couple ways you can approach that. I don't like the 1/2. I like to get rid of the numbers first, especially fractions. So how can I get rid of multiplying by 1/2? Well, we can multiply both sides by 2 or multiply both sides by the reciprocal, which is 2 over 1. In either case, it's going to be just 2. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 2. It's called fraction busting, multiplying by the denominator, which is 2. Or, because if you have 1/2 B and we divide by 1/2, dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by the reciprocal. So in this case, multiplying by 2 is going to work for both cases. So 2 times A is going to be 2A. Those don't combine. The 1/2 and the 2 are going to cancel, and we get B times H. All right. Now I need to get B by itself. Well, what's happening to the B? It's being multiplied by H. Okay. So how do I undo multiplying by H? I'm going to divide by H on both sides. So our final answer is going to be 2A over H equals B. Can we simplify that anymore? Is there anywhere we can go with that? We can't. That's actually our final answer is 2A over H. These are not like terms. And even though it's kind of weird, we can't go any farther because H and A and 2 do not combine to make anything else. So that's going to be our final answer. All right, number 12, V equals LWH. We're solving for H. We want to get H by itself. Excuse me. So we have V equals LWH. We're trying to solve get H by itself. So what's happening to the H with the L and the W? Well, it's being multiplied by L times W times H, right? So to undo multiplying by LW, we're going to divide by LW. We can divide by two things at once like this as long as they're being multiplied. These are going to cancel. So we have V over LH. V over LW, that is. Equals H. So our final answer is going to be H equals V over LW because V, L, and W do not combine. So we're just going to leave it as V equals LW. All right, number 13. V equals pi r squared H. So we're solving for H. All right, what's happening to the H again? Well, it's being multiplied by pi and r squared, so we can divide both sides by pi r squared. Those are going to cancel. We're going to get V over pi r squared equals H. So our final answer is H equals V over pi r squared. We can't combine any of those. Those are not like terms, so that's our final answer. All right, number 14 is a very challenging one. We have A equals 1/2 H times base 1 plus base 2. We're solving for base 2. Okay. So we're solving for base 2. So these little numbers in the lower right are subtext. Those are just labels. When they're in the upper right, it would be exponents, but these are just labels. So we have base 1 and base 2. This is the area of a trapezoid. So just don't be thrown off by those numbers. It's B sub 1 or B sub 2, but basically those are just labels. So we need to get base 2 by itself. Well, what's happening to the base 2? It's being added by base 1, and it's also being multiplied by 1/2 H. So again, we have this 1/2 in front, so I'm going to get rid of that 1/2 by multiplying by the denominator or the reciprocal by multiplying by 2. So now we have 2A equals 1/2 and 2 are going to cancel. We get H times base 1 plus base 2. Now, what does it look like we should do with this H here? What does it look like we should do with this H when it's out in front of the parentheses? It looks like we should distribute, right? Okay, don't write this down. This is what's going to happen when we distribute. Okay, don't write this down for now. So we do h times base, if we distribute that like this, it's going to be h times base 1 plus h times base 2. Well, we're trying to get base 2 by itself, and it already is kind of by itself in the parentheses here. So we are not going to distribute. It's going to make our life even harder than it needs to be. What we're actually going to do, instead of multiplying by h, we're going to divide both sides by h to get rid of that h in the front there. So now we have 2a over h equals, these h's are going to cancel. We're going to get base 1 plus base 2. And now how do I get rid of that base 1? Well, if I had like 7 equals base 1 plus, no, not base 1, equals 2 plus base 2, how would I get base 2 by itself? I would subtract 2, right? Well, we're going to do the same thing here. So we're going to subtract base 1. Even though it's kind of weird, we're going to subtract base 1 from both sides because it's being added to that side over there. So we're going to get 2a over h minus base 1 equals base 2, and that's our final answer. All right? So same kind of steps to solving, but it's just kind of weird because things are not going to combine very nicely at the end. All right, moving on. Now we're moving on to number 15. It says 2x plus y equals 5. It says write y is a function of x, and that means to get y by itself. So to get y by itself, how do we do that? We have 2x plus y equals 5, so we need to get y by itself, so I need to get rid of this 2x. So how do I get rid of that 2x? Well, I'm going to subtract 2x from both sides. And then we're going to y equals, and then when we get our final answer, write the x in front. Don't write 5 minus 2x. We're going to write negative 2x plus 5, okay? And it's not a big deal. Well, it's kind of a big deal right now because it's going to matter for chapter 4, okay? We're going to be working with y equals mx plus b eventually, which is slope-intercept form. So writing it with mx plus b form is going to be important. So just get in the habit of doing that. All right, number 16, we have 3x plus 5y equals 7. We need to get y by itself. So what's the first step? If we had 3 plus 5y equals 7, what would you do first? Well, you would subtract 3, right? Well, we're going to do the same thing here, because we're going to subtract 3x from both sides. We're going to get rid of that 3x from both sides. So we're going to get 5y equals negative 3. Oops, that's a bad 3. 3x plus 7. And now I have 5 times y. How do I undo multiplying by 5? We're going to divide both sides by 5, the entire side. So we're going to get y equals, and now another thing you want to do when you're trying to get y equals mx plus b or try to get y by itself, take the number in front of the x and make that its own thing and then put x after it. So does 3 divide by 5 nicely or no? It doesn't. So we're going to get negative 3 over 5, and then x is going to come along for the ride. Plus, does 7 divide by 5 or no? It doesn't. It's going to be 7 over 5. So that's our final answer. Even though it doesn't look nice, 3/5 doesn't divide, 7/5 doesn't divide, so that's our final answer. All right, number 17, 13 equals 12x minus 2y. We need to get that negative 2y by itself. What do we do first? If it were 13 equals 12 minus 2y, we would subtract 12. So we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to subtract 12x from both sides. So we get, I'm going to put negative 12x in front here, plus 13 equals negative 2y. All right, now how do I solve for y? Last step, divide by negative 2. So negative 12x divided by negative 2 is going to be 6x. And then 13 does not divide by negative 2 because 13 is a prime number, so we're going to get minus 13 over 2 equals y. So that's fine as the final answer, or I like to rearrange it with y on the left-hand side. So it's going to be y equals 6x minus 13 over 2. But either way is totally fine. Why we can flip these around no matter how we want, as long as we keep the order correct. And yeah, this is gonna be our final answer. Y equals 6x minus 13 over 2. All right, number 18, we have 2x equals negative 3y plus 10. We need to get that negative 3y by itself. How do we do that? We need to subtract 10 from both sides. So we're gonna have 2x minus 10 equals negative 3y. What's the last step to solve for y? We need to divide by negative 3. So we're going to get, for an answer, we should get, 2 does not divide by 3, so we're going to get negative 2/3 x, plus 10 doesn't divide by 3, with 2 negatives make a positive. We're going to get 10/3 equals y. Or we can write it y on the left-hand side. Y equals negative 2/3 x plus 10/3. double check my answers really quick here, make sure we're good. Looks pretty good. All right, moving on. Number 19, we have 9 minus y equals 1.5x. So we need to get y by itself, so how do we do that? What are we going to do? We're going to subtract 9 from both sides. We're going to get negative y equals 1.5x minus 9, put the x in front. Now, a lot of people try to leave the, they just put y equals 1.5x minus 9. That is not correct. This is a negative y right here. It's like it's a negative 1y. So how do we undo multiplying by negative 1? We're going to divide by negative 1 on both sides. So we're going to get y equals 1.5x divided by negative 1 is negative 1.5x. And then negative 9 divided by negative 1 is positive 9. All right, 2 more examples, I believe. All right, number 20, we have 1 plus 7y equals 5x minus 2. We need to get y by itself. What would be the first step to getting y by itself? I would subtract 1 from both sides. Am I going to subtract 1 from 5x or from negative 2? I'm going to subtract it from negative 2 because those are like terms. I'm not going to subtract 5x minus 5x minus 1 because those aren't like terms. So we're going to get 5x minus negative 2 minus 1 is negative 3. Last step to solve for y is to divide by 7. Y equals 5 doesn't divide by 7, so I'm going to write it as 5 sevenths x. And then negative 3 divided by 7 doesn't work either. Negative 3 sevenths. All right, last one, number 21. Y divided by 5 minus 7 equals negative 2x. Well, yet again, we have y divided by 5 minus 7. We need to get rid of that minus 7 because we want to get rid of the stuff that's not touching the y. We want to get this y minus 5 by itself. So we're going to add 7 to both sides. We're going to get y over 5 equals negative 2x plus 7, not 5x, because 2x and 7 are not like terms. And what's the last step to solve for y? We're dividing by 5, so we're going to multiply both sides by 5 and distribute over here. So y is going to be equal to negative 2x times 5 is negative 10x, and 7 times 5 is positive 35. And there's our answer. All right, that should be it for this lesson or this video. Thanks for watching. Have a great day. We will see you soon.